going to wrap up the Miami Dolphins free agent moves and the AFC East counter moves quickly as they pertain to the Dolphins. A couple little moves at the end that I didn't include in my last one, podcast on the free agency. So I'm going to get into those, get into some of, we all know the moves that are going on, but there's some that aren't being too talked about from other teams in the AFC East. And then I'm going to add a little bit of extra context and a little side note to wrap this whole shebang, as a tuism goes. And then we'll move on right to the draft, because that's really what's going to be the key for us going forward. Although, Christopher Jones in the comments, he's very correct. We didn't sign Tehran till late in March, so there could be some moves going forward. And I think clearly there's going to be more moves going down the road. Now, we've got $9 million, and then after June 1st, another $9 million comes on from moving off Byron Jones. It's $13.6 million. Minus some signing bonus stuff, and so there's some dead money attached. So really, it's about 9 extra for us. So total, we'll have about $18 million. There might be some of these new signings that aren't factored into there, but they're not too high. So we'll have somewhere around 15 plus, minus the draft picks, and then to spend, in that period where guys are getting cut, vets are getting cut, teams are trying to get under the cap, and guys shake free. So that's the whole deal. I'll get into it, but first, I just want to say thank you for stopping by. I want to give you guys a shout out. Shout out to Ace Bread, my sponsor, because without you, without them, this show ain't going down. Ace Bread's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. Okay, so there are moves, and then there are counter moves. And as Mike Tyson, who's one of my favorite people on the planet, it's been that way since early 90s, late 80s. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. And I trained to fight a lot. I loved training to fight, and I trained in a bunch of different things. One of them was Chinese boxing. And in Chinese boxing, they call it Wing Chun. They make an attack, and your hands get in there, and then from that, you make an attack off of it. But then the other guy, he has an opportunity to either evade it or counter himself. And I was very strong, very fast. I loved Mike Tyson for that. I loved assaulting people and being the first guy to attack and pressing the attack and using my speed. But when a guy could counter me, that's where I got into a little trouble, because my skill level or my nature never allowed me to really counter that well. And countering is critical when you're going against somebody who is good. And so you have moves that are being made by us, and then teams that are countering these moves. And so we've got to pay attention to them, because it's not just about our team getting better. It's about what does another team do? And then how do these stacks of skill sets and strengths and weaknesses, how do they mesh out? And then, of course, the luck of the dice, the roll of the injury thing that happens when the gods of football just shake that wand, and some teams make it through no problems, others get decimated. So you got this whole soup. And clearly, we made some critical moves to alleviate some of our weaknesses. And I'm going to get into that first. So last year, I looked at some of our key weaknesses. In the NFL, yeah, your strengths matter. Just like Mike Tyson, attacking, he's a great attacker. But the weaknesses will ultimately become how far you climb, because you're going to meet an opponent that's able to take what you got and counter it. So what we do to our weaknesses to raise them up, to make them better, is going to help us when we find ourselves facing teams or situations where it's a dogfight, where this team is able to take what we got, dish it back, and then we got to counter back to them. Now, we can't talk about adjustments. Adjustments are critical. Look at Andy Reid, what he did. He turned that Super Bowl around. Adjustments happen in quarters and drives in half times. And so we can't talk about those kind of counters, but the talent counters, the ability that we did to raise our weaknesses, we can speak very, very clearly on, because the 2020 weaknesses of our team is so pronounced that that's really where we got to start. Now, if you go through our high point weaknesses of 2022, rush attempts per game, 31st. We did not run the football. We did not like to run the football. Rush yards per game, 27th. We didn't accumulate many yards in those few rushes. Rush yards per average. Now, actually, we were a little bit higher than you would think. We were 23, which sucks. But when you give how little we ran, how many yards we had, we were somewhat effective above our miserable, terrible output on the run game. So those are three areas where we really need to improve on. Doesn't mean we have to be first in the league, but if you look at our record, you look at our seasons, clearly you saw a run game would have helped in many, many ways. And there's a lot of ways we can't speak on it. But clearly it does help. Helps time of possession, helps in balance, helps with your play action, helps in bad weather games. So this is an area where we need to improve. And honestly, we have not improved. We brought the same running back group back. We got Dan Feeney and Christian, and neither one of those guys are sizable difference makers. Now, some of this had to do with Teron not being available. We don't know whether he's going to be healthy or not this season. So it's unknown. We don't know if Eichenberg and Jackson are going to improve. So hopefully, whether it's through a blocking tight end or whether it's more offensive line talent, we need to bring that in to lift this up just a little bit, because we went, 9-8, and we went to the wild card with no run game. If we could get even to close to average, what would that do for the rest of our offense? Now, the rest of our offense, our third down conversions were 29. A lot of that had to do with the fact that we were imbalanced. A lot of that had to do with we couldn't get those third and shorts through the run game, and teams, as the season progressed, knew exactly what McDaniel was going to do. It was very predictable. Also, we could not block. So, and Tua wasn't out and wasn't in a lot, and Armstead wasn't in a lot, and yada, yada, yada. So this is another area that's a little bit of unknown we got to improve on. Completion percentage, 25th. Now, Tua wasn't in. We know his completion percentage is a lot higher than Skyler's. So there was a little bit of a ding on that, and it should improve if Tua can stay healthy. But it should also improve if we are in more on-point down situations where we're not behind the sticks, we're not off schedule, but we're on schedule or even ahead of schedule. And that can happen when you get a nice first down run. Yeah, you can get it through the pass, but if that's all you do, teams kind of key into that stuff, especially the really good teams. Now on defense, yards per game, we were 19th in passing. Just total yards per game. And then third down conversions, we were 31st, which is terrible. Pass yards per game, 28. So in this, clearly, Fangio, Jalen, the improvement of this whole squad, getting to know Chubb being here for another year, Phillips taking another step forward, David Long being in there, Nick Needham along with Ramsey and Howard and Kohu, and, even Elliott, who they brought in, who I liked. All this stuff is going to raise this massive eyesore, and it's going to help us. It's going to give our offense more opportunities. It's going to make games a lot more manageable for us to deal with. It's going to give us better field position. It's going to do so much. This will improve dramatically. Chris Greer, what he's done bringing in Fangio and all the rest of the stuff is going to improve this at a very high level. And so that's the great news. Now, we signed Berrios. We signed River Craycraft. Those are the ones I didn't cover last time. Berrios, I like a ton. Special teams help you out a lot with field position and big plays. You can see how much that matters. And this kid, when you watch this kid, Berrios, he's super, super sudden, and he can catch the football out in the backfield and make things happen. This was another excellent signing, a very reasonable signing. And so this is really good news for us too overall. But I want to touch last on the Ramsey part because I'm trying to refine it for some people who are in disagreement whether it's a good signing or not. And I still say it is. Now I'm going to quote PFF because they had some good information. They said in their article he assessed all the free agent signings and how each team did. So, but I'm going to focus just on the Ramsey part. Ramsey can play both the outside and as a slot corner, logging in 727 snaps on the inside over the past 3 seasons. While he will give up some big plays from time to time, he also is one of the best in the league when it comes to making plays on the ball. Over the past 3 seasons, he ranked 6th among cornerbacks with 43 forced incompletions, tied for 6th with 9 interceptions, and tied 3rd with 36 pass breakups. And again, he gives them up time to time. But he didn't have Holland over the top. He had the 27th worst pass pressure. But clearly you can see here, this guy's still playing amazing ball, and you bring him into this defense that's got amazing talent around it with Fangio. I expect big, big things. I mean, that's really all I can say. There's no other way to really rationally see this. It was for a ham sandwich and less. Won't say the name again. But it was for nothing, guys, and you got this kind of talent to go with the rest. He's a piece of a very talented and deep secondary with a very strong pass rushing unit. Expect big things. Expect these eyesores to disappear. We got to hope that Greer, and I say it over again, Greer needs to make this offensive line rise to at least average. He needs to, with him and McDaniel, get this run game to at least subpar, slightly below average, to average, and everything will be fine. But if not, it's going to be problems. I'll detail that later. Now, some side notes on the cap. Said we have like about 18. For those who aren't so high on whether Greer is able to or has the ability or the gumption or whatever you want to call it to make the offensive line get it fixed, I just noticed Eric Fisher, who he signed, who did not play his snap, we have $2 million in dead money over him. That was a terrible signing. And I think it's going to be a little compounded because I like Shell. I think Shell needed to be brought back. I think you needed him to he would take Jackson's job, and maybe that's why they're not looking for him. I still thought he would be able to slide in and either take Eichenberg's job at left guard or be able to play that right tackle spot and take Jackson's spot. But the Bills have interest in him, and it does seem like he could very well go to the Bills. And that would hurt us and well as bolster the Bills' biggest weakness, which is offensive line. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Now, we all know that Gesicki went to the Pats for a song and dance, about 4.6 plus up to about $9 million incentives. I don't like this either. They were looking at VG, Van Ginkel. They decided to go to a different linebacker. He's over with the Raiders, I think, doing getting tested. They're testing him to see if they want him on the team or not. I hope he doesn't go to the Patriots. I'm happy that he didn't. If one of these two guys had to go to the Patriots, I'd have preferred Gesicki over Van Ginkel. But I don't like either one of them. I expect Mike to have a good season this year. I know one good sign for us that him going there, they might not go for Darnell Washington. Because right now, both their starting tight ends, with Gesicki included, are free agents next year. So they might still go for him, but maybe they're going to turn their eyes off Darnell Washington. That might give us a chance to get him or for him to leave the division. And that's what I really want. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a superstar, but I don't like his ability to run, block, and catch, and I don't like it on any other team except for Miami in this division. So that kind of sucks. I think Mike is going to do well. They're going to use him well. O'Brien drafted him in college, knows him, is very high on him. O'Brien's a good offensive coordinator. They're going to find ways to get these guys open, all of them, including Mike Gesicki. He's going to be definitely be a goal line threat, and they needed to put more points on and when he put more yards on. I think Mike Gesicki's going to have a pretty good year there when you tie him up with all the talent that they have on that offensive line, that run game to get that legitimate play action. So it's going to be very, very interesting. And remember, they still have Parker over there. So it's the Parker and Mike Gesicki Hate the Dolphins tour when we play them. We didn't get to see too much of Parker last year, but I expect this year both those guys are going to want to make noise when they play our team. Now, last little bit, Noah, I think it's going to. They might be able to cut him. If he doesn't pan out this year, it'll be a $2.5 million hit in dead money. I think they can move off of him. Kind of hoping they do. Just cut bait. Admit it was a mistake. And then Jackson, it's negative 4.3 if they cut him. So I think Jackson's going to be starting. I think they have the intentions for him to start. I don't know. I think they clearly should. If they don't bring starting competition for Jackson, that is going to be very, very bad idea. And if he doesn't play out and that position becomes a problem all season, you've got to just aim your sights at whoever's making these decisions, which is probably Chris Grier. And if that position isn't solidified because no one's brought in to back that up, that's a death knell. At least for me, I've given Grier an extension. I like a lot of stuff he's done. But this is a critical move, both Eichenberg and Jackson. And that's fine. Bring them in to try to start. You can't really get rid of them. You can't. But if you bring somebody in that's equal as far as, veteran savviness, or equal in ability, but has a little extra veteran savviness and takes their jobs and they back up and you do well, that's okay. I totally get it. But if you don't bring anybody in there to really compete against them and they don't succeed and this offense struggles and the season struggles because of them, come on, guys. Even the biggest Dolphins fans have to say no mas with this. No mas. But we're a long way from there. I'm hoping Grier isn't that hard-headed. I know they have time. They have ammo in the draft, and they have money to get. All they need is average starters at left guard and right tackle. If they can find a tight end that can block pretty well with Connor, Hunt, and Armstead. And this offense, this team, this season could very well be extremely special. But two poor positions like that, the guard and the tackle, could be like a black hole sucking everything up in it. And I don't want that. So I'm not saying we're doomed, but I am saying if this is not rectified, come on, guys. There's something really squirrely going on here that we all got to be up in arms against. But we're a long way from there. So overall, major fixes in our poorest areas, which that says great stuff for us. That says that we really are moving forward. Now, I'm going to do another podcast. I'm going to get my Phillips tape to you today. I'm working on that still again today. Just going through a whole season is taking a lot of time. And then after that, early next week, I'm going to show you where all these AFC East teams, they've made moves to fix their weaknesses and how it all kind of meshes out right now. And folks, we're in a pretty good spot. Not finished. Other teams have to make their final moves so we can see the moves and count the moves. But overall, really good situation we're in. But that big blemish in the run game and offensive line, it's got to get fixed. Come on, Chris Grier. You could do it. You could do it. Anyway, Curtis saying, thanks for staying to the end. Catch you next time. Be well. We can do it. Go Phins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with AceBread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.